Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Mining Weekly editor Martin Creamer joins me today to unpack the latest news in the mining industry. Welcome, Martin.
Thanks, Ashni.
Now, despite ferrochrome demand being up, South Africa's production is down.
Yes, we used to be the dominant player in ferroalloys and ferrochrome particularly. And ferrochrome, I can remember, a special document being brought out. This supported something like 200,000 jobs. So it was a fantastically important industry for us. But it's slipping from our grasp. Fortunately, there are great efforts now to try and make sure it doesn't do that. And you can see meetings taking place at the highest levels. But, once these smelters close, it's not that easy to open them. And what they're looking for is a cheaper energy source. Now, that appears to have been found. That very credible Smelt Direct, it is being looked at as something that can solve this problem. But not everyone is prepared to invest in that yet. But I'm sure some will invest in it. So there are positive parts of this beginning to show up, talks taking place at very high level. So you can see that South Africa is determined they're going to not let this slip from their grasp, not totally anyway. And, it would be quite difficult and heartbreaking for us if, we produced the chrome ore here. We sent it to another country. That country turns it into ferrochrome. And the ore that was mined next door to you has now gone thousands of miles to come back as ferrochrome. Whereas these days, if you're close enough, you can even have hot ferrochrome delivered. So it's so important. It's going to have so many repercussions if we allow this to slip. But I think at the highest level they realize this, and you can see the effort is quite hectic to make sure we keep this.
Now, can you tell us how Kumba Iron Ore is helping to reduce carbon emissions in steelmaking?
I think we don't realize that session ore is probably the best quality ore on the planet. Now, you can see that the Platts index is recognizing that, giving it high status. And you can also see the Platts index recognizing other sources of iron ore are not as high quality, and they are lowering that iron ore on the index. So this is an important thing for us to realize, that here in this Northern Cape, we've got Kumba Iron Ore with a source that is good quality to a point where they're getting paid higher prices for it. But why are people doing that? It's because at this time, with fighting climate change, trying to make sure that you lower your scope 1 emissions particularly, this can help you do that. And so I can see in the medium to longer term there's going to be more and more demand. And not only has nature given us this, but there's been human ingenuity and what we call the ultra high dense media separation. You take the waste and you then process it to a point where it's also got very high quality, also getting premium prices, and it lowers the strip ratio, so you can get more metal out of the ground for use, and that extends the life of the mine. So some very important things happening to make sure that the quality is recognized, and I think the world does recognize it, paying more, but it's also doing a lot here. And if we can extend this ultra high dense media separation, or the UHDMS, it's going to do a lot for us.
And lastly, with so many advances on the African continent,
yes.
South Africa needs to pursue every viable economic opportunity.
Yeah, at this point in time, the geopolitics is so uncertain. People are going this way and that way. But I'm getting the indications from Africa that they realize that they're going to have to be resilient. They're going to have to diversify. And you can see well-structured, well-devised advances coming through. And from good levels of government and good levels of business and financial institutions, you can see these things are fostering production capacity cooperation. Now that's important here in Africa. Credit insurance support. You're even looking for export collaboration, and they're looking at warehousing and construction of warehouses extra effort in agriculture and also minerals. So I think we're not taking this lying down, and I'm sure there will be more public announcements coming through, but already you can see that it looks like being viable. You know, the structure that they're setting up in this geopolitical turmoil could just give us that extra diversity that we need at the moment and make our losses from not being able to export along the normal supply chains less punitive.
Thanks for speaking with us, Martin.
Thank you, Sashni.
That's it for today. Join us again next week for more news analysis on the local and global mining industries. And don't forget to listen to the audio version of our Mining Weekly daily email newsletter.